to... Let's try it again. Good morning. Good enthusiasm. Okay, and also we have Dr. Brad Wong. And Dr. Wong will give you some more information about himself as he goes through the conversation, but he is a former emergency room surgeon, so he's literally saved people's lives. He's been in life and death situations over and over and over again. And so, but part of his post-career life has been giving back through Aloha Medical Mission to provide surgeries for people who can't always access them, and to provide increase the quality of life for people all over the world. So I will let Dr. Brad Wong jump right into his presentation. Here you go.
Can you hear me? You okay back there? Yes or no? Yes? I'm Brad Wong, I'm a surgeon. Brad, have the mic. This is Tony Muranaka. She's the Aloha Medical Mission Executive Director. And after this is over, if you guys want to volunteer to work in our dental clinic, take care of people who cannot pay for their dental care because they have no insurance, they're too poor, they come in with a toothache, can't eat, you give her a call. John Cheever will give you her number, and come volunteer with us in the dental clinic and do some real work, not schoolwork, not goofy stuff, not socializing, not smoking dope, drinking alcohol, but real work in a clinic to help people. The stuff that you're going to be doing 10, 15 years from now, and hopefully directing your lives too, because that's what I'm here to do. Now, as a surgeon, I've been around the world for the past 30 years. I take my skills and I go to poor countries and we operate for free. We operate on people who could never afford an operation because they're too poor, or their country cannot afford to provide them the services of a hospital, or to fix their hernia, take care of their breast cancer. And without us, they would never have an operation. And that's a gift of my profession. I love my job. I couldn't see myself doing anything else. And I'm here today because I'm here to take you out of your box. I'm going to take you out of your box. You don't have to take any notes. This is something that is all on that outline I handed you. Everything that I know about what I'm going to talk about today is in that handout. And the best resource, which is not in that note because I found it this morning, is the Encyclopedia Britannica online. Go to Encyclopedia Britannica, cholera. Read that. Short, concise, interesting. Today I'm going to talk to you about death, because death is what moves this world. You guys are looking to college, having fun, surfing, playing tennis. That's good. That's part of your life. But the other side of your life, which I know that none of you have really thought of, because I didn't at your age, is that there's a whole world out there that is so different than what you are experiencing now in Hawaii, in mid-pack. You have a nice life. You have a nice house, food, clothing, activities, friends, but you have not seen the world. I'm lucky I've seen the world. I got to take surgery. I've traveled to countries where poverty is like nothing you've ever seen. And that's what I want to bring to you today. A glimpse of another world, which I hope someday you are going to participate in. Most of you will not. I guarantee you, most of you are going to lead comfortable lives, you want professions that are going to suit you, make you money, vacations, cars, you're going to love it. However, I hope a few of you are going to take what I tell you today. It's just a glimpse, a little peek into a little bit of what I've experienced and what I as a doctor, as a surgeon, have seen, and what I as a surgeon, doctor, can understand from what I've read. And now as a retired doctor, the vast number of things I've read that I've never did in high school, reading about history and about how death, conflict, disease, suffering, poverty have affected the world. Now sure, there's Beethoven, there's Pele, there's Tiger Woods, these guys that capture your imagination and bring good things to your life. That's not to deny that there are good things that come out of the world. I mean, thank God for Mother Teresa. But you folks have not been exposed, as I never was when I was your age, to the dark side of this world. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, you remember about a year ago, Genki Sushi had a big problem? What was that? Hepatitis A. Where did that come from? From where? Philippines. Why? Contaminated water got into whatever the process of scallops was and got people sick. Did anybody die? Yeah, a couple people died. Yeah, a couple people died. So, remember about 3 months ago in Arizona, romaine lettuce was contaminated with what? What organism? Salmonella. And about 10 people died. Maybe 200 people were affected. Where did this come from? Water in Arizona, romaine lettuce, and it took about a year to figure this out. It came from cows. The poop of cows going onto the field, washed into a river. That river happened to be the canal that these farms were using to irrigate their crops. Salmonella. Now, 9 people died. And every day, people die. In Hawaii, you don't see death, do you? People die, they go to the funeral home, you go to the funeral, you look at their coffin, dead. You don't see death, you don't feel it. I've seen death in front of me. My patients have died. I've seen people die in front of me. Of a stab wound, of cancer, of pneumonia. I've smelled death. Most of you have never smelled death. When the pictures I show you on today, you won't smell the death. But if you were around death, you've seen pictures of earthquakes in China, Indonesia, and you see the guys pulling people out from under the wreckage, and you see them wearing masks. Why are they wearing masks? Dead people, dead animals, smell from the decay. It is, I tell you, it is an overwhelming, overpowering stench. If you're not used to it, you cannot work. People who have not smelled death have missed out on an experience, but you're fortunate. But that's what you see, but you cannot experience it. Now I'm going to bring you a little closer to that. Let's talk about death. What was the population of Hawaiians before Captain Cook? Anybody? You have an idea? 500,000. So the population of Hawaii now is about 1.2 million. Before Captain Cook, all through the islands, the population of pure-blooded Hawaiians was 500,000, 500,000. What happened to them after Captain Cook? They died. And why did they die? Diseases from the old world, like mumps, the common cold, smallpox, chickenpox. That's what they died of. And you know what the population sank to within 50 to 80 years? 26,000. Now, they intermarried, the survivors. But now you hardly see a pure-blooded Hawaiian. But disease killed 90% of the Hawaiian population. Disease killed 70% of the American Indian when the white man came. It wasn't guns, it was that killed many. But the majority of those Indians lost their culture because of disease. They died. They died in the fields, in their teepees, in their streams of smallpox. The Aztecs, the Inca, the Mayan, they all died under Spanish conquistadors. Yes, because they had this crazy cultural sense that the white man was superior, but they died because they lost their culture because they died. And now even Easter Island concepts of why Easter Island culture lost. It's not because of the rats and the forests and deforestation. It's not because white men came to Easter Island and people died from common illnesses. Now, can you imagine From 500,000 people, 500,000 to 26,000? What does death really mean? And we're going to think about what happens when death happens in such great quantities that the society is unable to manage it. We manage it now because they go to a funeral house, in a hearse, ambulance, they get cremated, they get buried. We don't see it. But imagine if today 20,000 people died every day in Honolulu. Where would they go? They'd be filling the streets. We have cars, streets, buses, ambulances. What about a country that doesn't have buses, ambulance, hospitals, policemen, where all you have is an open field of garbage, streets, broken buildings? Where do they go? Where do they die? They die in front of you on the streets and the fields. And that's what happens in the rest of the world. Now, the last great epidemic in the world occurred back in World War I, back in 1918. And what was that? Influenza. How many people died of influenza? A billion? Well, the population now of the world is how much? 7 million. Billion. 7 billion. What was the population during World War I in 1918? 7 billion now. In 1918, the population was 1.2 billion. 1.2 billion. 500 million, half of the world's population contracted influenza. It was called the Spanish flu then. Of that 500,000, 50 million died. Of that 500 million who contracted it, 50 million died of the flu around the world. So half of the world's population back in 1918, 7 billion now, 1 billion then, half of that population contracted influenza. And where did it come from? It came from the Midwest in the US. And how did it get around the world? World War I. They took the US doughboys, took them to Europe, they fought in World War I against the Germans, and they brought the flu to Europe. And it was the most contagious flu that had ever seen in the world. Now, the biggest epidemic that the world has seen occurred back in the 14th century. The Black Death, the plague, the bubonic plague. Now, here we are, 7 billion people now. Back in 1300, what was the population of the world then? $700 years ago. 7 billion now. What was the population then? 400 million. Oh, 7 billion now. 400 million. The population of the US right now is maybe 340 million. So pretty much the population now of the US is what the world population was 700 years ago. And how many people died? The world lost at least a quarter of its population over a period of 50 years. And in Europe, whose population then was about 80 million, I can't get around 80 million, isn't it? Well, New York City's population is about 11 million. Tokyo, about the same. Shanghai is 24 million. Europe's population was only 80 million. And how many died during the Black Plague in a period of about 4 years? 50 million. More than 60% of the population of Europe died in 4 years. Now, let's imagine this. Here's the population of Hawaii, 1 million people. In 1 year, let's have 60% of our population die. The Black Death is not a nice way to die. There's many ways of dying. In the most virulent years, you die because you got pneumonia. coughing up blood. You get black lumps in your groin. Your skin would turn black because not enough, the blood would not be able to coagulate. So you'd have patches of hemorrhagic blood areas under your skin, the Black Death. You'd cough up blood because the blood would come out of your lungs. You'd be throwing up, spreading contagion through the air, spreading it to your other companions, your family. No one knew what caused it. We didn't know about bacteria then. It was a horrendous event in world history. Not knowing what caused people to die, people dying in the streets, hundreds in the streets, in their homes. Where would you put them? They were buried in pits, thrown in the rivers. People, death everywhere. I can't even imagine what that would be like. But that is the world. That is what happened to our ancestors. So the world population, 4,450,000,000 then, lost 100 million during that time, over about a 100-year period. Hard to imagine, but that's what history was like. And where did it come from? What started it? Huh? Iraq? Not quite. Genghis Khan, the greatest conqueror, the greatest leader in the history of the world. Genghis Khan, who was born in the 1200s, and he created his empire from Mongolia all through mid-Asia, Kazakhstan, Turkestan, Afghanistan, all through the Caucasus, through Hungary. He invaded Russia. He got to Saudi Arabia and almost invaded Egypt. He had the biggest territory, and he was far-seeing. He incorporated all the great things of his cultures, took all the religions and didn't kill them. He killed them when he fought them, but he kept them later, brought the engineering of the Arabs to China and to the Mongols, and created a huge culture. But he brought a trade route to the Silk Road, and that trade route spread the Black Plague all through Central Asia, into Europe, Russia. Genghis Khan. And we're going to find out that disease is spread because of a breakdown in the infrastructure of societies. The flu was spread because of the World War. The Hawaiians died because the Howleys came. A political, a colonizing event. And this is what happened to cholera. Now, this is a home in Nepal where I worked for 4 months as a surgeon and lived. I walked around the countryside, went into people's houses, saw what they lived like. They were happy, but they were poor. This is in the Philippines, along Smoky Mountain, the side of a garbage dump in Manila where people lived. And here is a well in Nepal. Most houses in these towns in Nepal don't have running water. The women and children go to the wells, spend 3 or 4 hours waiting, putting 40 pounds of water on their shoulders, carrying it back every day to wash, to cook their food, to drink. And this well in Nepal, because most of Nepal is Hindu, you cannot tamper with the cows. So the cows hang out with the people. They're dung lying on this floor. Their bottles put under the water to catch it. The cows walking around nearby. Can you imagine the interface of potential of disease that they're drinking